Great to see so many people still left here after lots of talks about DJing and not just seeing it. And now the talk by Alex Sonnenfeld is something that we have been waiting for a long time in this community, to have better notation when you do scratching. Why do we need notation? Well, that can be lots of different reasons. For instance, you will hear a talk after Alex. I will give a talk about the science of scratching, and after that you will hear Gabriel Prokofiev talk about his composition, concerto for turntable and orchestra. And there he needed some way to notate what the musician or the DJ was going to do. And that's not the first time. And every time there's the mix between the composer and the DJ, there is a problem. How do you communicate the music? How do you notate what is going to be played? And here Alex has done a tremendous job. His notation system is really, really great. It's going to be a scene changer, I'm quite sure. And it's a pleasure. I look so much forward to see this now. So give up for Alex and his theory of motions.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. So, I paid to him 100 euros, so I give it later. So, okay, yeah, my name is Alex Sonnenfeld. I have invented a music notation for turntablism. This is not the first notation. Maybe some of you know there's a TTM transcription as well, which was invented basically in the same year, but my research spent, I think, 15 years. You know, I was sitting in the dungeon in my cipher and just research to create a music notation which is based on the classical music notation. This is very important for me to find a communicative basis to talk with traditional musicians. This is the idea of my music notation. So, okay, and in this lecture I would like to talk about some content. I hope it's not so boring. Yeah, some infos on me. I work as a guest professor or guest docent teacher for the Qbert Scratch University. It's an online school. I educate some students and yeah. Okay, let's start. Everybody knows scratching, but what is really its essence? And is there possibly more to it than it initially seems? In my opinion, the fundamental concept behind these forms of art is the possibility to touch a sound. You know, this is really important, to touch a sound, because actually when you play piano or another instrument, you push on the button and the sound comes out and he flies away. He flies away, he's away. So, and now I can put this sound on a control disc and I can touch it, yeah? I can touch it, and he's mine. So, and with this concept, this concept is like a metaphor to the work of a potter who works with clay to form either a vase or a plate. Here I'm completely free to modulate recorded sounds into something else. And additionally, the mixer allows us to modulate different parameters of music. That means, for example, volume, we can change the frequency range, we can change the pitch, and this functionality differs from many other instruments, especially when we think about the possibility to play a sound backwards. Yeah, we can play a sound backwards, and this is a really important trademark of DJing, of scratching. So, at this point, we might legitimately ask the question, if computers can trigger audio samples to play whatever and whenever we want, so why do we need a turntablist? Yeah, to do it by hand, and why create a notational system for it? So, and like any instrumentalist, the turntablist uses human motor skills to create sounds, and this lends the art form value to extends behind the capabilities of a computer, in my opinion. All through the rhythmic sterility of a computer or software can be humanized through various computer tricks, such as randomization, and this is not comparable with this human variable. It lacks, in my opinion, the imperfection of emotionally controlled processes. In other words, it lacks a heartbeat. And this is the reason why we have to play it by hand. Yeah? So, and music notation is a global communication medium for the composition, archiving, replication, and systematic analysis of music. We are, in a sense, decoding the DNA of the turntablist's musicianship with the goal of enabling an accurate visualization of playing techniques. Allowing the DJ to read and write music gives them a higher awareness of the theory and an efficient way of teaching and learning. These are some introducing words on the art form of turntablism. So, and my system, the so-called S-notation, is a written transcription method which uses notational symbols to describe a turntablist, the techniques of a turntablist. The end product of these techniques is the modulation of certain parameters of recorded sounds, material resulting in a new method of making music. So, now we see a poster, and this poster shows important chronological stages of the development of turntablism techniques written down in S-notation. This historical overview was elaborated for Musikmesse 2014 in cooperation with famous turntablists such as Qbert, D-Styles, DVD, and Mark Hype. So, yeah, you can see it looks very similar to the classical notation. And what are the challenges of creating a methodology for this kind of unprecedented music? Firstly, because the sample might have no discernible pitch or timbre, as in case of an ambient noise or spoken words, it does not allow for a predetermined pitch range. This is a really important fact. Also, because the samples used are all pre-recorded, the following musical parameters have to be considered in the transcription methodology. This is time value, this is pitch, and this is volume. The purpose of written music is to enable a musician to make a sound and consistently repeat it, and this requires two things. The first is that the sound itself must be the same each time. The second is that the individual techniques on the instrument must be subject to an order, a series of principles which can be understood and applied correctly. In classical music notation, both prerequisites are firmly met because the movement on a keyboard or on a string is always linked to a certain tone or pitch. Yeah, you can see this in the following indication here. It is therefore possible to notate the tone based on the positioning of the note inside a musical staff. A staff is a set of horizontal lines seen in traditional notation. The position of a symbol on these lines denotes the pitch on the note to be played. So, making music with random sound material, however, does not allow for such a method. It is particularly difficult to capture the broad pitch range produced by the motion of the disc. For this reason, S-notation describes only the manual motion on the disc, only the manual motion, and on the fader as a sort of theory of motion. This is the reason why my thesis is called theory of motions. To insist in this, the well-known audio recording of particular scratches helps the player to get a familiarity with the respective notated pattern. So now, due to the enormous repertoire of turntablism technique, it is essential to sketch a sort of classification of the instrument setup. This is really important. That means we have to sketch a sort for fader, movements. We have to sketch or a sort of sketch for disc movements and controllers, knobs, whatever. So to understand how it influences specific musical parameters of the sound material. So let's have a look at the following scheme, which I have created, or what is basically the fundament of my whole thesis. And you see here different words. Yeah, we see parameter motions, acoustic motions, motion types, motion criteria, direction, time value, blah, 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 blah. So no particular names of scratch techniques like transformer or chirp or something like that. It's really mathematic, but this mathematic is absolutely necessary to explain the whole range of techniques. It's like, yeah, it's mathematics. So now I will try to explain some words on this sketch. Each of these so-called parameter motions adjust the sound characteristic of the sample. We see acoustic motions, which means manipulation of speed and direction of the record, acoustic motion. Then we have dynamic motions, means manipulation of volume on the line fader, on the crossfader as well. frequency motion means manipulation of audio frequency, logic. And the other one, effects motion, means the manipulation of audio panning effects. So the acoustic motion is the most important parameter because all other either refer to the physical movement of the control disk or are dependent on it. All of the aforementioned parameter motions are separated in motion types. Here we have single motions, integral motions, and groups of motions. I will explain in the following chapter all these crazy words and combinations. They are the fundamental principles of a composition, and the theory of motions aims to represent them by notational symbols. So now we go further, and we see that every type of motion is subject to a unique architecture, which is defined by so-called motion criteria. These criteria are direction, time value, intensity, and characteristic. That means when we compare this to the movement on the record, on the disc or fader, we can move the disc in different direction, forward, backward. We can move the disc in different time values. That means, for example, 1/16, quarter. Intensity, that means different speeds, and characteristic. So, and this concept can we transfer to fader movement as well, because it's the same. We got two different directions. We got this one, up and down, left to the right. We can change the intensity, the volume level. We can change the characteristics. That means we can create the volume that goes like this, like a waveform or something like that. So, and the S notation is a transcription methodology from which you can read all motion criteria based on the principles of music theory. As in classical notation, the shape of the symbol and the position inside the staff determines the action the musician should take. In the following video, you will see a really simple performance by several turntablists who are playing by notes. So this looks really strange, and the instrument you see looks really strange as well. This is a prototype which was built up for this thesis. It's a prototype without any needle or stuff like that. It's not necessary. And yeah, okay, let's have a look at the video. For explanation, we see now 4 different voices. The one up is, the first voice is the drum, then follows the hi-hat, then follows the bass, is the blue one, and then follows a tone. So, and let's go. Let's have a look at the notation, how it works. The hi-hat. And now comes the bass. So, okay, now you got the imagination how the notation works, or how it can look when some turntablists play together to create something like an orchestra, like a band. And this is a really important fact of turntablism, I think, because most of the time scratching is like improvisation. You know, when you go in the club as a DJ and you do some tricks, and oh my God, what is he doing there? Oh, and he's doing some yo, and check it out, and oh, you know. It's another way of using this instrument in a more musical way, is my opinion. So now let's start with observing the first parameter motion. This is the acoustic motion. I will give you some insights of how to notate the acoustic motion, all motions on the record, on the disc. So, and the first criteria to define the structure of a motion, of the acoustic motion, is the direction, yeah, the motion direction in which the control disc is moved forwards or backwards, with each direction resulting in a different sound. This is really important. It's a different sound when we move the record forward, and it's a different sound too when we move the record backward. So, and in the following indication, we see 2 images. We see on the left, see we the control disc. This is a movement forward, and on the right we see the graphical waveform of the fresh sample. Fresh sample is a really important acoustical trademark of turntablism. I think most of you guys know this. And now you can see how it looks when you when you look at the graphical waveform. So the backward scratch looks like this. Yeah, we see we move the record backward. So, and now we come to an important question of the notation, how to notate this different direction. To mark a forward motion, we use a symbol that is similar to the classical notation. It consists of a head which faces to the right in an upward fashion. So, it looks like this. Yeah, basically a simple quarter note in classical terms. And this shall be referred to as a note. Yeah? When a note is placed on or above the center line, the stem is placed on the left of the head and goes down. Conversely, when the symbol is placed under the center line, the stem is placed on the right and goes up. Yeah? So nothing new. So the performance of a note in terms of S notation, when I say I play a note, I don't say I play a forward motion, I say I play a note. Then it goes like this. Yeah, I play in this case a quarter note, so a quarter forward motion. So the backward motions will be denoted by a mirror image of the symbol. We see this. I have just mirrored the symbol of a note to create a symbol to denote the backward motion. This is really simple. When you look at this, this is a note, and now we see another symbol. This is the E tone. When you spell the word note backwards, it's E tone. Yeah? So now I play a E tone, a quarter E tone. It goes like this. Yeah? So this is it. This is basically the concept. And yeah, in conclusion, we can say the direction of the head denotes the direction in which the player should move the disc. So here's a comparison between these two symbols. We see on the left the note, we see on the right the E tone, and I think it's a very logical way to understand how we use these symbols. Now we come to the second criteria of S notation. This is the motion value. This is the time. That means acoustic motions can be performed in different time values. That means we can move the record very long forward, for a whole note, for example, or a whole backward motion, a half, a quarter, a 1/8, a 1/16, a 1/32. Yeah, and this is the symbolistic of doing this. Yeah, it's basically the same. Yeah, that means we can move the and show this in a different form. So yeah, that means to indicate the different duration forms, the same system as classical music notation is used. Really simple. In a whole note, E tone, the head is the only component of the symbol, and shorter record motions requires a stem and possible beams. So, as in classical music notation, dots and ties can be used to stretch the duration of a note. And so we go over to the next criteria. This is the motion intensity. The motion intensity is basically the speed of the control disc, forwards or backwards. In this parameter, the player influences the pitch of the sound. That means when I move the record really fast, the sound goes like this. Beep, beep. So I got no record here. This is a little bit stupid because I would love to show it. So, but I try to explain. When I move the record really fast, it goes like beep, 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 beep. So when I move it really slow, it goes like boom, boom. Yeah, and this is basically the speed of the control disc, and by doing this, we can change the pitch, basically, in musical terms. So the motion intensity is the speed of the control disc. In this parameter, the player influences the pitch of the sound, a process we call pitching. This, of course, affects the duration of the sample, and this must be considered in the transcription method. Since a control disc offers a wide variety of playing options to modify the original sound material, including a high range of pitch. The player can move the disc by hand extremely slowly, like I said, or really fast. But in either case, it's quite difficult to produce a constant pitch. This is it's a really important fact. By using the pitch controller, Mark Hype have showed this in this lecture for tone scratching. When you move this pitch controller, you can change the speed. It goes like, woo, then it goes, woo. Yeah, I think most of you guys know how it works. And yeah, by using this controllers, an exact adjustment of the speed for longer periods is possible. A different concept has been developed over the past few years that increasingly optimize the playability. One example is the fretless fader concept by, John Bees. So, wait 1 second. I'm going to show it. So this is the fretless fader. It broke new ground in turntablism in 2011 because this is a new concept of how to change the pitch by using the crossfader. And I'm going to show you now a video. This guy is really crazy. Look at this. And I hope you understand what he's doing. He have modulated the crossfader to use the vertical axis, to change the pitch. And this makes it possible to play on the crossfader, and by changing the positioning of the crossfader, you have the possibility to change the pitch. And this is, I think, one of the most interesting concepts of how to use the turntable as a music instrument, in my opinion. So, okay, in the following chart, you can see the scale of pitch shifting based on a sample which was recorded originally in C1 pitch tone. Just for info, looks really strange. We got C, then when we change the pitch, we have to play it in minus 5.6% of speed. And yeah, okay. By working with sound material with a pure pitch, it's fairly simple to create a notational transcription methodology to recreate them. It is similar to classical music notation, in which the position of the cymbals note or E-tones on the staff indicates the pitch. Yeah, like this, you see different notes on different positions inside the staff, and that's how you can transcribe how to change the pitch. The S-clef symbol is used, we see this in front, to indicate that the traditional staff system is being used to describe the acoustic motion. The letter S is not the letter S for Sonnenfeld or for scratch or something like that. The S is for space, for Latin spatium, space, and represent motion and symbolizes the most important parameter motion, the acoustic motion. It is placed at the beginning of the staff, and all symbols which represent the disc movement have to be written down in the staff or outside by the use of ledger line. In this way, the staff system describes the movements of the record to be executed on the turntable instrument. The whole concept of S notation requires an understanding of two fundamental principles to transcribe the motion intensity, or in other words, the pitch. The first one is the classical tonal principle, which details the use of the S-clef, and the variable principle, which will be explained further down. Let's start with the first principle. This is the classical tonal principle, and now we see an indication. So, and it's a comparison between the classical, or the G-clef, in classical terms, and the S-clef, yeah? So, and as you can see in the graphic, the F-class, so where the red arrow shows, has a small black circle on the top of the S symbol, which serves as a reference point to denote where the F note is. This is just like the normal F-clef, where the line denoting the note the note F runs between the two dots of the symbol. In the same way, for the G S-clef, the black circle at the bottom of the F symbol shows the position of the pitch G1. On a piano keyboard, this would be the note G in the first octave. The same pitch as a traditional G-clef. The key difference between the S-clef and the traditional clef is, firstly, the S-clef describes recorded sounds as opposite to single unrecorded notes as in traditional music notation. And secondly, a note on the S-clef can describe a complex phrase, for example, a spoken word or drum break, whereas traditional notation, it always indicates a single note. To ensure communication with traditional musicians, most of the rules of modern notation apply for the S-notation system. This is really important to create a communicative basis. Yeah? That means, for example, bars, time signatures, pauses, accidental, everything applies for the S-notation. So you can see this here. We see a note C, D, E, F, G, A, and so on and so on. So using the symbol for E-tone, it is possible to write for every sample a counter movement when we think about it. That means when we got notes, forward motions, we got backward motions, E-tones. And now, to name E-tones, based on the pitch, the minus sign is used as shown in the chromatic scale. That means when you look at notes, it's like C, D, E, F, G, A, H, C. So and then minus C, minus D, minus E, minus F, minus E, This is E-tone, very logical. So with this principle, you could create a scale with the help of the usual theory of motions. As such, it is now possible to compose different forms of chords by using the E-tone instead of a note. So my mom, sorry, and stuff, to gain an understanding of the statement, you can see you can see now an indication of the C major triad, for example. So, and this looks really strange, I think. So we got a C major triad, but 4 different forms, yeah? We got the first form is by using 2 notes and 1 E-tone. We got the second by using 2 notes and 1 E-tone, but placed on the, oh, come on, warte mal. Shit, man, I have to, was ist hier los? Oh, sorry. Okay, and then the third variation, the fourth variation. So, and yeah, in the following video, you see the concept of a new device of a turntable, which I have spoken about for a few, which uses different areas of the shore face of the control disk, similar to a piano keyboard. This makes it possible to scratch different pitches or chords at the same time. Let's have a look.
So what up everybody, this is Alex Sonnenfeld and this is the idea of polyphony scratching.
So, and this is a super future instrument here. So, and this is a new instrument which will break new ground in turntablism. So, but the concept is clear. The idea was to use the shore face of the control disk to play different pitches. Yeah, it's another way to doing this. And when I try to grab some chords like this one here, I can move it and I can create a forward-backward motion, for example. And I think it's interesting. So. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So now it's a question, how can we notate the sound envelope or pitch range? And how can we subdivide the lines and distance of this S-notation system to indicate the motion intensity applied to the disk based on the position of notes or E-tone? The answer to this is the following principle. The variable principle. The variable principle. So, the variable principle describes the idea that because any kind of sample can be used, a universal system of notation, like traditional music notation, is impossible. Instead, we must adjust the notation to the character of the individual sample. The way the turntablist plays the instrument depends on the character of the sound material and what kind of result is desired. There is no other transcription for the acoustic instrumental variety of the instrument. Due to that, it is necessary to know upfront the sound characteristic of the chosen sample, just by trial and error, experience and practice in playing with the sounds. The player can figure out which pitch sounds the best. Using this method, we can create an individual scale for the composition, which is named as variable principle. So, and this looks like this. To ensure a sufficient scope for all possible degrees of pitch, there are 7 degrees in the diatonic scale, it is common practice to provide 3-line systems, as you can see in the image. The whole tonal scope of the variable principle is subdivided into 24 degrees, each denoting a change of exemplarity 10%. Yeah? So, in this case, we change the position of the note inside the staff, and we have a change of the speed without any regards to pitch, a classical pitch, or something like that. So, All audio material which we use for playing, to provide a communicative basis such as in classical music theory, all different degrees of the speed of the notes now are named with characters from the alphabet. We see A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I, ba, 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 and all the, or we can change different pitches, like 10%, 20%, 30%. So, all audio material which we use for playing has an original time value. This is really important to think about it. And in case of the very famous fresh sample, this is fresh. The time frame is 0.8 seconds at 75 BPM, which equals to a quarter note. This is just for information. We see the fresh sample, here's a graphical waveform on the screen, and on the left, the quarter note, the quarter forward motion in this case. And now, really important, by slowing down or speed up, we stretch or shrink the sample. This increase and decrease in the time value of the sound can be prevented by using a regular time stretch effect. And in the chapter entitled Anatonie of my thesis, a simple notational methodology is presented which takes these consequences into account when the piece is played. So let's go over to the last criteria of the acoustic motion, and this is the motion characteristic. And the motion characteristic is one of my favorites because this is a way to illustrate how the movement on the disc modulate the original sound material. That means, based on the possible range of motion, there are a number of different options for altering the course of the disc motion, which produces different pitches. This variety of movement in a musical context draws on the physical principles of how to accelerate the motion of the disc. To add this element to S notation, we divide this into two fundamental forms. The first form of motion characteristic is the linear motion characteristic on the left, and on the right, the nonlinear characteristic. This is the basis. So the linear characteristic defines always a constant level of speed, irregardless of whether the disc is played in release or in hand mode. And we can see, for example, this is a quarter note played in a linear motion characteristic. Yeah? To indicate this type of motion, we need no additional sign in the transcription. The simple note indicates it's a linear motion characteristic. Now, all forms of nonlinear motion characteristics require additional signs, logic, which have to be applied to the respective note or E-tone heads. Here are some examples of, for example, logarithmic increase or decrease. We see the first one, it's a logarithmic increase, goes like this. We see the additional sign on the note, and we see now on the right the acoustical consequence of playing this. Yeah, the sample stretch. So, and then below the logarithmic decrease, it goes down. Is it right? I don't know. Is decrease increase? Yeah. So. Okay. Here's a here's a combinatoric of these different forms of nonlinear motion characteristic. This is another form. This is an exponential decrease or increase. We see the acoustical consequences based on the graphical waveform. And this is a little video to understand what I said in the last minutes. So it goes like this. Expansion, and now when we play it. Yeah? Okay. So we need additional signs to transcribe or to indicate that we play the motion, acoustic motion, in a nonlinear motion characteristic. So now we can come to the first compositional principle. This is groupings. Due to the fact that we can not link the musical output of turntable mixer with the ordinary scale, we need to think a little differently about the term melody. Therefore, we have to find new ways to build a concept to create melodies in the new context of using the samples as an instrument. The aim is to draft an underlying principle to provide the basis of a universal method of composition, which works irrespective of the quality from the sound material. This principle should help the player to capture the possible playing strategies on the instrument which cannot be located or defined in the context of a classical tune-based music. This most fundamental compositional principle of the theory of motion is to sort acoustic motions, with other words, groupings. As the name already suggests, it connects more than just one acoustic motion for the purpose of a musical pattern. The result of that is the base for the composition which influences the work with the turntable. In turntablism we find plenty of those patterns, such as the baby scratch or the tear, for example. We see now the transcription of the one forward, two backward tear. And yeah, it would be great to show it, how it works. Stefano, kannst du mal gucken, ob I need a scratch record? Can you ask if they're in the box too? So I would like to show you this. Maybe some of you don't know what I'm talking about. This is basically a combination which Mark showed in his lecture. It's a combination of a forward motion, a backward motion, and another backward motion. In turntablism terms, it's the so-called one forward, two backward tear. Now we see in the transcription, the first sign is a note. Please look at the head. The head goes right, and then follows this one, and follows this one. Means on the record, forward, backward, backward. Yeah? And one forward, two backward makes three notes, and here you see forward, backward, backward, forward, backward, backward. In turntablism terms, note, E-tone, E-tone, note, E-tone, E-tone. Every movement played in the 1/16. So, okay, and another technique is a two forward, one backward tear, playing two notes, one E-tone. So, and this is the clover tear. This is forward, forward, backward, backward. That means note, note, E-tone, A-tone. So, okay. And due to the enormous possibility to group acoustic motions, we can create thousands of groups. We can create one forward, two backward, one forward, backward. And this makes 5 or 6, I don't know, and we can repeat it, yeah? And this is basically the basis of all turntablism techniques, to group movements. This is the idea. You know, when you consider our techniques, baby scratch is a combination, it's a group, one forward, backward. Tears, groups, clover tears, groups. When you transfer this consideration on the fader, this is the same concept. That means open, close is a group. When you play open, click, 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 groups, 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 everywhere. So, and this is, yeah, the idea, or this is the compositional principle of the S notation, groupings. So, but I will explain this in another lecture because there's so much space to think about it, and yeah. In conclusion, you can say that the musical output of turntablism is primarily based on generating groups of motions on the record or on the fader. Think about it, it's really important. These are the building blocks for composition and allows the systemization of the playing techniques very easily. This will be clear when we transfer this method to other parameters of the instruments. But like I said, in this lecture, we only deal with acoustic and dynamic motions. So now we come to a really crazy parameter of S notation, or crazy parameter of turntablism. In fact, and this is the so-called Anatonie. Anatonie. Tone, Anatonie. The idea of this word, it's a new word, is based on the term anatomy. Anatomy, from biology, and describes the way in which the audio sample or sound organism can be broken down by the turntablist into its component parts. So, now I got finally a scratch record. I talked the whole time on scratching. I got no scratch record. So Anatonie is based on the term anatomy from biology and describes the way in which the audio sample or sound organism can be broken down by the turntablist into its components parts. In this image here, we see exemplarily the different parts of a waveform. That means we got first the attack, Then we got the decay at second, we got the sustain level, this is the third part, and we got 4, the release, so-called release. The disc range of motion allows the player access to any point in the entire length of a sample, thus adding extra dimensions to making music. That means I can touch the sound, I can go inside the sound, yeah, and start playing from different positions. That means I can play the sound from the start. I can go to every position of the sound, and this is a really important parameter of turntablism, of scratching. So, and the disc range, or no, with other words, now we want to be able to describe through musical notation the temporal, or with other words, the anatonic stages of the sound. This is a really important parameter of a notation for turntablism. We do this by marking the acoustic motion, which can apply to any part of the sample due to the expressive range of the instrument. A sticker placed on the control disc can be used as a unique visual reference point to locate quickly and precisely the player position among the anatonic stages, like the hand of the clock. I think most of you know how turntablists mark their sounds. We got a sticker, for example, or another type of indication, and now by moving the disc, we got a reference point to locate where the sound is. This is really important, yeah? And yeah, a sticker placed on the control disc can be used as a unique visual reference point. So now, some ideas how to transfer this idea into music notation. Now we use a color scheme to distinguish the individual stages. Here I think about 2 options. The first one is on the laptop or software. I think most of you guys who works with digital vinyl systems know this type of indication. We can color the graphical waveform in different parts, or we can try to indicate different parts of the sample by using different colors. This is one way to define how the structure of the sample is, yeah? Okay, that means today's digital vinyl system already use these colors on the graphical waveform, visible on the laptop or display to denote frequency and energy. This could be a concept to locate the different temporal stages by playing. However, I will use a different color gradient which is visible on the turntable itself. It looks like this. So, we got a platter, and under this platter it's a color scheme. And it will be great to build up this color scheme individual based on the sample, which I use for scratching. So, with this guide, for example, I will show a video later how it works. With this guide, the turntablist can see which segments of the sample. Look at this. This is the fresh sample, yeah? This is the fresh sample once again, and you can see now which segment of the sample he's playing. That means, once again, this looks like on the turntable, on the record, and this is the same concept transferred to the graphical waveform of the sample. So now, let's have a look at the following indication to see how we transfer this idea to music notation. And this is really simple because we use colored notes. This is it, yeah? And now, by using this colored notes, I know exactly which part of the sample I play. And this is the idea, how I would like to incorporate this parameter, or how to find a solution to incorporate this parameter in S notation. So, and as you can see, here's the video, okay. To demonstrate this method, let's have a look at drum scratching. Drum scratching is it's a special playing techniques in turntablism. I use sound segments like kick drum and snare to create drums. We see this in the following video. And in the following video, I have worked with 2 different types of samples, the kick drum and the snare. Now we can relate a specific color to one specific sample. In the following video, all black notes indicates the kick drum, and the red ones indicates the snare. So, look in the indication, all the black ones for kick, and all the red ones for snare. So, now it's a little bit confusing because you see round note heads, and this is another idea, but I don't want to explain it right now. It's a little bit confusing, but believe me, everything works fine. So, okay, let's have a look at the video to show how it works. Kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, yeah? All you see, blacks and red, and now you can detect what we have to play. So another example, another video is this one here. So, okay. And now, in order to show the start or end point of one single acoustic motion, the symbols are also given colors, like this. In this example, for example, we see on the right the graphical waveform of the fresh sample, and now I would like to play only from the 4th part to the 7th part, so just one part of the sample, yeah? Now, that means starting in the red area of the sound till the blue area. So here we can see that the anatonic start is indicated by a red head of a note. So, and then at the end, by additional sign, this is the colored motion point, which is blue in this example. So, and this is a way of how to transcribe to playing only this part of the sample. And the movement range of the disc will be like this. Yeah, we see the arrow, and we play from the 4th part to the 7th part. Here's a short video performance, how it looks like. And when you look at the video, under the table here, there's this is the concept which I was talking about. You see the different colored areas, and please have a look at the sticker on the table, yeah? And due to this sticker, I got a reference point to see that I play only from the red part to the blue part. Once again. So, okay, this is it for now. Some basics for the Anatonie. Anatonie is, but I have got so much time. So, and let's go over to the second parameter motion, to the dynamic motion. Dynamic motion, everything what's happened on the fader, on the line fader, on crossfader. This is, for me personally, really interesting because as a turntablist, you use so many different combinations of fader movements. And when the audience see a guy who makes this crazy stuff, so you think, oh, what he's doing, yeah? And the dynamic motion tries to figure out or try to create a system for put all this in a structure. So, but now some words on dynamic. In the studio or during a live performance, sound engineers use the faders of a mixing console to raise or lower the level of the audio signal. DJing and turntablism is today a virtuoso performance art, largely through having perfected complicated variations of these same fader movements to subdivide sound in various ways. As a result, equipment manufacturers created special faders of both vertical and horizontal alignment that could withstand the enormous stresses of the rapid movements. Yeah, when I play the whole time like this, so you have to be sure your fader works well. But so this is the context of dynamic motion, a system for conveying the large variety of fader movements, which raise or lower the volume. Having a fader language such as this gives us a new perspective and encourage new creative use of volume manipulation. Dynamic motions can be separated into, this is another example. Here I play a E-tone, different parts of the sample, but we are now in dynamic. So, dynamic motion separated into fading and cutting. These are the main forms, the fundamentals. The difference between them can be seen in the envelope graphs. The volume is measured along the y-axis and the physical position of the sample along the x-axis. Fading is usually produced by the vertical line fader. So in here you can see I can play different degrees of volume, yeah? This is fading. This is fading. So it offers a gradual modulation of the volume depending on where the fader is located. Cutting is different because cutting is usually performed by using the crossfader, And a turntablist generally has the set at the sharpest chord, meaning the signal is either open or closed without any gradual curve. We got only two choices. The fader is closed, no volume, or the fader is open. Okay, and this is the difference between cutting and fading, just for information. So, different cutting and fading techniques and combination of these are explained in further courses. Let us begin by considering the key parameters that are measured under the system of dynamic motion. Let's go. Every movement on the crossfader, on the line fader, are classified as motion types. Like I showed at the beginning in my scheme, the smallest units of these are called single dynamic motions. Single dynamic motions. Sounds strange. So here we got two options. Like I said, we got the open motion. When you try to compare this with the record, we got the forward motion. Yeah, open motion. And we got the closed motion. Try to compare this with the backward motion on the acoustic. So two choices, basically. The open motion. This is the transcription for open motion. We see now above the staff a symbol. This is a semicircle pointing to the right and drawn directly above the symbol for the acoustic motion to clearly show that they happen at the same time. Here is a short video of the performance. Now you can see over the note an additional sign, and this is the transcription for dynamic motion, for crossfader. And now when you see this, I move the record forward and I open. I just open. I do nothing else, just open. This is really important to create mathematics, yeah? Just open, do nothing else, just open. So, okay, the second single dynamic motion is the closed motion, logically, yeah? And we see now a mirror image of the symbol above the staff. This is the symbol for opening. And you know, it's like opening, so, and then for closing. So, okay. And now we move the record forward and we close, and it goes like this. So, nothing else. It's really simple. But this fundament, this concept is a requirement to create any kind of group, any kind of combination, because we got the DNA. We got the singles, simples, components to create basically every type of group of whatever. So, okay, now we come to the next motion type, and this is the integral dynamic motion. That means a combination of single dynamic motions with identical time values produces an integral dynamic motion. So here we got two options as well. We got the open-close motion, and now you can see, we see the breakdown on the right, we see the open symbol, this one here, yeah, and we see the close motion. So, and when you put these two forms together, we create a circle, and this is the symbol for open-close, for an integral motion. So, and 1/4 consists of 2 1/8, and we see the slurs. This is for the music theoreticals inside the audience, and this is the way how to transcribe that we do not play 2 8 notes, we play just one pattern, which consists of a time value of 2 8s. This is, I would like to speak about this, or please read my abstract to understand what I mean this. Okay, open-close motion. So now we see the performance on the instrument. Open-close. Open and close, yeah? So now, we come to a crossfader technique. Oh, now, when you think about it, now open-close, what is the counter movement of open-close? Close-open, yeah? So, and now we come in this regards to a crossfader technique which broke new ground in turntablism. Now it's getting more interesting because this is the flare scratch. When you look at this, this is a fresh sample. And this fresh sample got a cut in the middle. And this cut in the middle is the result of closing and open, the crossfader, yeah? And the idea is to cut the sound right in the middle to get two sounds by one crossfader motion. By one crossfader motion, in this regard, by the close-open motion. We can see now in the following video how it works. And we see now another symbol above the staff. And it goes like this. So, and this is a flare scratch basically. And in order to create a rhythmical sound that can be denoted by symbols, the duration of these two single motions must match the total duration of the acoustic motion. So across is used, as you can see, to symbolize the combination of closing and opening movements. To write this, you add the symbol directly above that of the acoustic motion. Again, the breakdown on the right shows the individual components of the techniques. Now we come to a special performance on the fader, which broke new ground in turntablism as well. In the past, we are talking about the transformer scratch. So this technique is denoted by a circle with a line through it to distinguish it from integral dynamic motion. Video performance goes like this. So now for the transformer scratch is like this. That means you put your thumb, I play in regular, I put my thumb on the fader, and now I bounce with the index. Yeah? So when we compare, I play now the same pattern with the open-close motion. It sounds bigger. Now, transformer. So, and this is the reason why it's absolutely important to transcribe this form of technique. So, up to this point of theory of motion, we learned that every physical movement on a disc or fader is linked with a counter movement. So, we got open, we got close, we got open, close, we got close, open, we got the transformer. And now, basically, we have to find the reverse transformer. Is it possible? Is it possible to derive a new technique from the transformer? I think. Alter, ich habe da ausgemacht hier. Was ist neu? Das geht immer nicht. So, okay, now we try to figure out what's happening with the reverse transformer. And the reverse transformer creates a different sound to the other techniques and is denoted by a combined symbol. It looks like this. So, but now is the question, what is the reverse transformer, how it works? And the reverse transformer, look at the video. I played the reverse transformer with the thumb. And this is really, really interesting because now I'm going to show you a little demonstration of the reverse transformer. When I play a drum scratching pattern with the regular transformer, it goes like this. Just here, yeah? Now I play the reverse transformer. Transformer. So, it sounds bigger. It is? Or no? Transformer. Reverse. So in this little acoustical difference is really important in my opinion. It's important because for me, I love to play all drum scratching pattern with the reverse transformer because it sounds much doper, you know? When I play transformer, it sounds really sharp. Or like this here. Sorry. Transformer, now I play reverse. It sounds bigger, and I think this is really, really interesting. So, okay, now to get an imagination of the performances and the acoustical difference between all these crossfader techniques I've spoken about, let's have a look at the following video. And in this, I've played one and the same drum scratching pattern by using all the crossfader techniques I have spoken about. And we start with drum scratching pattern played with the open-close motion. This is how the open-close motion, open, close, open, close. So, and now. So, now the same pattern on the record, but played with the closed motion open in the same time value. Close open motion, So, here. So, and you have to know, the performance on the record is exactly the same as in the video before. What I have changed is only the crossfader performance. This is really interesting, I think. So, once again, the same pattern with open-close. So, and now the same pattern with close-open, just to compare these two forms. So, and now we come to the transformer technique, which sounds different as well as the other ones. And now it goes like, it sounds shorter, it sounds sharper. And have a look at my performance on a crossfader. I play only with the index, yeah? Bouncing to the thumb. And now, reverse transformer, in which I play with the thumb. It sounds bigger, yeah? And it's important, in my opinion, to distinguish crossfader techniques really, really detailed, yeah? So you can transfer this concept to line fader movement as well. That means I can play drum scratching pattern. Oder? Yeah, you have just combine these different types of finger combinations, and you can create different forms of acoustic. So now, yeah, I think we come to the end. Okay, I think this is it for now. I really hope I could give you some insights of my thesis. An abstract of this is available in 1 month on my website in English language. I'm really happy about that because the original thesis is, I think, around 200 pages. And now we have created an abstract. And in this regards, I would like to thank Dan Leach for the translation. He's a guy from UK. And finally, I would like to point out one fact. A rigorous education in traditional music disciplines, that means music theory, ear training, composition, producing, can break new ground of awareness for the player, which enhances their development of stylistic depth, creative maturity, and professional competence to enter the contemporary music industry. The value of S-notation transcription is that it encourages different methods of composing sample-based music. Until now, turntablists generally compose according to their own experience and taste. S-notation provides a structure into which you can place any samples and use it to produce unpredictable combinations and therefore create unconventional musical compositions. So, thank you very much for your patience. Yeah, and